Jeremy, I looked at it. I don't think he will. He might have been just a niche over 45 miles an hour. But remember, NASCAR gives you that 5 mile an hour grace period. So if he's below 50 miles an hour, he'll be good to go no matter what.
So, yeah, I forgot about that 5-mile-per-hour grace period there for a second. But yeah, Dylan, what do you think about these green flag pit stops? Any strategy? 2 tires?
I think you got to come up with something here. You've got to do something strategically to get you up. And I think that the person who's you're going to see do it and who's going to try something, and if he's going to make it on fuel some way, magically, I think it's going to be Hayden Rapaz in the number 26 car, because he somehow usually works his magic. But I think the bad part for that is I think everybody's going to be good on fuel right now, and I think it's going to. I don't think there's going to be, unless there's a caution, I don't think there's going to be anybody who's going to be able to catch Flyer.
Yeah, I agree with Dylan. I think this race, after Adam fell out of this race with that fuel pickup problem that we noted, I think this thing's pretty close to being over. We got less than 20, or about 29 laps to go, I believe, and I don't think anybody can catch him.
It looks like the 99's having a really slow pit on pit road. He's still sitting there.
The 99, that's Kyle Young. Looks like he finally gets off pit road now, and as these guys are getting in with their pitting, let's go to our spotlight drivers for each of us, and let's start out with all of our spotlights. That's Steve Rada. He's in the number 88 National Guard Young Motorsports car, and currently he's running in 4th position. Not too bad for him. He's actually doing pretty good. You see him there, he's coming off of turn 1 and 2, and they're heading down the backstretch. These guys pick up a lot of speed as they go into these corners. What is it like going down into one of these corners, Tacos? Where do you think is the safest place to go when you're in Flyer's position?
Safest place to be is just try and separate yourself. If there's a couple cars in front or in back, don't push the issue. That pit stop that just occurred, Flyer actually ended up with a few more seconds advantage. I noticed he went from about 14 to about 16 and change. Best thing to do right now is just, if you run up on lap traffic, which obviously he's going to, because there's a couple cars right in front of him and he's still got 25 laps to go, he will run into them. Don't push the issue though. Don't wreck yourself trying to get by cars that you're already ahead of. He's got half a lap lead. Just ride it out to the finish. If you get a yellow, you get a yellow. That's a different story. But as of now, you can't push it.
As it looks like we have a battle for 6th here between my spotlight driver, Kyle Young, and the 14 of Speedy. Well, you know, he's really been trying to reel in Kyle Young here in the past few laps I've watched, as he's running about the same lap times as my spotlight driver, Kyle Young. But, you know, it's really been tight between lap times for these top 3 drivers that are still trying to stay on the lead lap. But that 14's really, I think he got a little bit loose in that corner, but, you know, it's really been a tight race in lap times, not in positioning and stuff. But how about Steve's spotlight driver?
Yeah, my spotlight driver, ironically, was Sonny Tollman in the 14 car. In fact, I'm actually watching his chase camera right now, and it looks like he's actually progressing a little bit throughout this race. He didn't get much practice, and we tried to work on lines before I had to withdraw my 66 car. He and I were teammates. He owns my car, as well as the 14, so that's my car owner there. He's currently running 7th. He's the last car 1 lap down, and the 2 cars that are still running that are scored behind him are both 4 laps down. So if he can maintain here, I believe the worst he can finish is 7th. Sonny's been one of the more underrated drivers. Full Throttle Racing. He is in the Pro Series, granted, which is a huge accomplishment for him. But there was a league that he and I raced at called Open Speedway. He and I were teammates there. Well, they didn't really have teams there, but we used to be allies. Racing with him for a number of seasons now. It's great to see him having a good run. He looks like he could very well get P6 or maybe even P5 because Neil Froelich is not that far ahead of these guys.
Let's see if we can contact Triffin Davis here for the stats, like the current positioning out there on the track. Triffin, you got us?
Yes, but it seems like Stan Cougar wants to do his spotlight driver. Then I'll.
Oh, I thank you, Triffin. Sorry for that little bit of miscommunication there. But my spotlight driver is Hayden Rapos. He's just trying to stay ahead of Flyer 2359, who's your leader. He's hanging in there. He's running in third place, which is very good. He's been doing a great job all race. He's been running a good line. It's just doesn't quite have the line that Flyer and Dan do. But he's been trucking this entire race, and I think he's gonna have a pretty good finish. And I think that if there's a caution, I think he's gonna be a force to be dealt with in those closing laps. Now we send it up to Triffin Davis. Go ahead, Triffin.
Hey, Stan Cougar. Well, Flyer 2359 is running an average speed of about 175 miles an hour whenever he crosses the line, and so but Dan Monroe is catching him a little bit. He must be running a little bit faster because Monroe is 15 seconds behind, and obviously, as you can probably see, Hayden's 28 seconds behind, which is about 2 seconds ahead of Flyer. And now we start with the lap down cars. Steve Rada in fourth is a lap down. Neil Froelich, Kyle Young, and Speedy. There are two 4 lap down cars. There's Richie Riggs in the 17, and there's Joe Conley. And just like before, Adam Burton with no fuel, and then DK, who was involved in that lap 1 incident. Back to you, Stinker.
Thank you, Triffin. So now I'm gonna give this to Jeremy and Steve. Who do you guys believe has been the most surprising? You know, there's been Dan Monroe. You know, he's the quiet guy.
Caution's out, caution's out, caution's out.
We have a yellow. We got a big wreck here on the backstretch. He's on the inside. And finally, our first yellow of the day will go. And this will very bunch things up here. As we did talk about it. All three of us talked about a late race yellow. And this definitely will put this into the category of a good finish. And I think we'll see everybody on pit road. What about you, Steve?
Oh, absolutely. This is exactly what we were talking about. How these drivers just had to take it easy and pray for this lucky break. Looking back at the crash, though, it looks like, amazingly enough, I believe Joe Connolly in the 5 did the same thing that he did back on the first lap of the race. Just this time, instead of spinning down to the apron, he spun directly in front of looks like Kyle Young, a near miss.
You got to give credit to Kyle Young. We're gonna give him the Good Hand Safety Award. That was a great driving on his part. He had to get on the brake hard there, and he's lucky to have gotten through that.
And it looks like we'll see Flyer come down pit road here in that 94 car as he comes all the way down at pit road speed. He's got to be very careful on the speed, although he has a very big gap between the next car down pit road. As you see, he works his way very carefully down pit road. He wants to get in a stop perfectly. He doesn't want any mistakes, even though there's nobody else on pit road behind him that or he's even close if there's anyone. But he's got to still. This crew wants to keep up the fast pace to make sure if there is another late race caution that there will be pumped up and ready to do it. That pit crew does not need to make a mistake here as he leaves pit road.